Welcome back to the Sally Jessy Raphael Show. For those of you in our studio audience today, we have a wonderful surprise. We have the 12th President of the United States, President Zachary Taylor, with us. President Taylor, would you join us, please?
Please excuse me while I remove my weapon.
Wow, that is some sword.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I see that? Wow. That is impressive, Mr. President.
Mm-hmm.
You may put that away. That's
But,
quite frightening, actually.
oh, okay.
Well, we have some questions for you today, Mr. President.
All right.
Would you like to tell us what it was like to grow up in the backwoods of Kentucky?
Well, it was very fun. We always had things to do or things to learn. I learned to read and write on my mother's lap. However, it was not because of my education that I was accepted into the military. It was because of my good sense of the outdoors.
Now, once you grew up, did you have a family of your own?
Oh yes, I had 3 daughters and 1 son. And my second daughter, Sarah, married the President of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis.
Now, President, in what years did you serve our country as President of the United States?
Well, I served as President from March 4th, 1849 to July 9th, 1850. The reason my tenure in office was cut short was I died. I died because I got cholera. Now, when I got cholera, everybody thought it was because I was poisoned. But it turned out that after I had drinking some cherries and iced milk, I got cholera.
Oh, that's a terrible story. Now, I understand that your political party was the Whig Party. What exactly was a Whig?
Well, a Whig is a formal political party of the United States. It formed in 1834 in opposition to the Democratic Party. We advocated loose interpretation of the Constitution and high protective tariffs.
Very interesting. So, President, what are some of the things that you did for our nation with regard to our foreign affairs?
Well, I believed in neutrality, so I successfully kept our nation out of wars for 2 entire years. I'm very proud of that. I also made a treaty with the United Kingdom saying that any canal that was made would be neutral between us, and that no colonization would occur in South America.
That's fantastic. It must have been difficult to do that. Now, what would you say was the most important thing that you did for our country with regard to our domestic affairs?
Well, I would have to say that the most important domestic affair that I tackled when I was in office was the issue of slavery. I saw that it was a problem, and I decided that I would not allow slavery to continue into the western United States. Also, before I died, they started to make a compromise, saying that some states would be slave states and some states would be free states. However, I died before I could veto this.
So, Mr. President, did you veto many things?
Well, I believe that the veto should only be used to stop things that are unconstitutional. So, in this case, I would have, because the Constitution says all men are created equal.
Now, Mr. President, how did your wife help you win the presidency?
Well, I was a general for 40 years, and through that 40 years, my wife traveled around with me and was the perfect homemaker. By the time that she and I made it to the President's mansion, she was very tired of doing things, and she handed the responsibility of the elegant parties off to my niece.
So, what do you think about President Rutherford B. Hayes?
Actually, really, I didn't know anything about him. Could you tell me a couple things?
Rutherford B. Hayes' presidency started off really bad. To get into office, he made a backroom deal with people in the South. The Southerners agreed to vote for him if he stopped Reconstruction. They wanted to get the military out of there so they could hurt the African Americans.
Well, that's too bad. Was his whole presidency full of scandals?
Well, he also believed that blacks would have to survive in the South and complete the journey for freedom through their personal efforts without the government support. Also, he sent troops to stop riots over civil rights. The troops ended up contributing to the riots and killed 78 people. So that's 78 people that were killed because of him.
Wow, that's no good.
No, that's a failure in my opinion. Now, what do you think of President Lyndon B. Johnson?
Well, I would say first and foremost was his inability to trust his military commanders on battlefront and to make the call of what was and was not a visible target. Having tied his hands, he crippled the war effort beyond anything the enemy could have done. And he failed to see that black Americans and women as equal. His lack of trust cost hundreds of thousands of their lives.
Wow, that doesn't sound very good now, does it? Well, Mr. President, thank you for your time here today, sir. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before you leave us?
Well, you know, I am kind of hungry. Does anybody have a bowl of cherries and a glass of iced milk?